Welcome to this special episode of STARFLEET Cinema, the show where we honor Star Trek talent contributions to non-Star Trek media. In today's episode, we pay our respects to legendary Disney story writer and director Roger Allers, who passed away on January 17, 2026 at the age of 76, by taking a chronological look through the filmography of Roger Allers and examining the Star Trek talent who worked on the films that Mr. Allers himself contributed to. A special note before we begin. Allers contributed material to the story of Disney's 1988 animated film Oliver and Company, which was profiled in the Day 1 episode of NeoBlisseyX versus the MGM Studios 31-Day Movie Challenge. Therefore, we will not be profiling Oliver and Company in this video. You can find a link to that video in the description field below this video. With that having been said, let's get started. Originally released in U.S. theaters on July 9, 1982, Tron tells the story of a computer programmer portrayed by Oscar winner Jeff Bridges, who gets sucked into the world on the other side of the screen and must fight his way through the system to find his way back home. For Tron, Roger Allers assisted in the development of pre-production concepts. Previously profiled in our video NeoBlisseyX vs. Presents Gargoyles vs. Star Trek 30 Years Later, link in the description, late actor David Warner portrayed three characters in Tron. Ed Dillinger, a senior executive of the computer company Encom, who stole game programs from the character portrayed by Jeff Bridges and passed them off as his own. Sark, a computer program serving as the guardian and second-in-command of the Master Control Program, the tyrannical overseer of the world inside the computer. Warner provided the voice of the MCP, but received no credit for this role. Born in Brooklyn, New York, United States on November 16, 1956, Dan Shore portrayed two characters in Tron. Ram, an actuarial program who worked with Flynn and Tron to escape the game grid, but derezzed or died from his injuries. And an unnamed Encom programmer who was billed in the closing credits as Popcorn Coworker. The Popcorn Coworker would receive the name Roy Kleinberg in Tron the Next Day, a short film produced for the 2011 home release of Tron Legacy that showed the complete in-universe history of the Flynn Lives augmented reality game that helped to promote Tron Legacy's original theatrical release. For Star Trek, Shore portrayed Ferengi physician Dr. Eridor in the third season Next Generation episode The Price and the third season Voyager episode False Prophets. As I noted at the top of this video, Roger Allers contributed material to the story of Disney's 1988 animated film Oliver and Company, which was profiled in the Day 1 episode of NeoBlisseyX versus the MGM Studios 31-Day Movie Challenge. Therefore, beyond this statement, we will not be profiling Oliver and Company in this video. You can find a link to the Oliver and Company video in the description field below this video. Originally released in U.S. theaters on November 17, 1989, The Little Mermaid was an animated adaptation of the famed Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale about a mermaid who falls in love with a human prince and trades her voice for a pair of legs so she can chase after that love. Roger Allers served as a storyboard artist on this film, whose enormous global box office success led to the period known by animation fans and historians as the Disney Renaissance. Previously profiled in 6 different videos here on the channel. Look for the NeoBlisseyX vs. Presents starring Frank Welker playlist at the link in the description below. Frank Welker voiced Max, Prince Eric's pet dog, in The Little Mermaid, a role Welker would reprise in the 2000 direct-to-video animated film The Little Mermaid 2: Return to the Sea. Archival audio of Welker as Max would be used in the 2023 hybrid short film Once Upon a Studio, as mentioned in our Starfleet Cinema episode on the subject. Link in the description. Born in Chicago, Illinois, United States on April 4th, 1935, late actor Kenneth Mars provided the voice of King Triton of Atlantica in The Little Mermaid. Mars would reprise the character in all Little Mermaid media released from 1989 to 2006. For Star Trek, Mars portrayed Coleus in the second season Deep Space Nine episode Shadowplay. Mars passed away in Granada Hills, California, United States on February 12, 2011 at the age of 75. Previously profiled in the alternate selection special episode of NeoBlisseyX versus the MGM Studios 31-Day Movie Challenge for his voice role as Flanagan T. Flanagan in the 1997 animated motion picture Cats Don't Dance, link in the description. The late René Auberjonois voiced Chef Louis, the royal chef who attempts to cook Sebastian the Crab. Auberjonois would reprise the role of Chef Louis in the 2000 direct-to-video film The Little Mermaid 2: Return to the Sea and the 2001 to 2002 animated television series House of Mouse. We have a double bill for our next chapter, as we have a short film and a feature movie that both featured storyboard artwork and story writing done by Roger Allers. Released to theaters in the United States on November 16, 1990, The Prince and the Pauper was the first animated short film produced to accompany a Disney animated feature film since the release of the short film Mickey's Christmas Carol in 1983, alongside a re-release of the 1977 film The Rescuers. Here, Mickey Mouse portrays both the Prince of the Kingdom and a beggar, who switch places in an attempt to prevent the Royal Captain of the Guard, portrayed by Peg Leg Pete, the oldest character in the Disney canon, from taking over the kingdom. Previously profiled in our Starfleet Cinema episode on Who Framed Roger Rabbit, link in the description, late sound effects editor and voice actor Wayne Allwine portrayed the voice of Mickey Mouse as both the prince and the beggar in The Prince and the Pauper. Frank Welker voiced the king and the archbishop in The Prince and the Pauper. Previously profiled in the aforementioned episode of NeoBlisseyX versus the MGM Studios 31-Day Movie Challenge on Oliver and Company, retired actor Garrett Graham co-wrote the screenplay for The Prince and the Pauper. Originally released in U.S. theaters alongside The Prince and the Pauper on November 16, 1990, The Rescuers Down Under was the 29th film in the Walt Disney Animation Studios canon. See the aforementioned episode of NeoBlisseyX versus the MGM Studios 31-Day Movie Challenge on Oliver and Company for an explanation, and a sequel to the aforementioned 1977 animated film The Rescuers. Here, Bernard and Bianca, portrayed by the late Bob Newhart and the late Eva Gabor respectively, head to Australia to protect a boy who is being hunted by a poacher who wants the boy to guide him to the nest of a rare eagle. In The Rescuers Down Under, Frank Welker voiced Joanna the Goanna, the pet of the evil poacher McLeach. Archival audio of Welker as Joanna would be used in the 2023 hybrid short film Once Upon a Studio, as mentioned in our Starfleet Cinema episode on the subject. Link in the description. Originally released in U.S. theaters on November 22, 1991, Beauty and the Beast was the 30th film in the Walt Disney Animation Studios canon, and followed a peasant girl who willingly becomes the prisoner of a beast in order to protect her father. Roger Allers served as head of the story department on this film, the first animated motion picture to ever be nominated for the Best Picture Academy Award. Born in Peoria, Illinois, United States on October 31, 1942, late actor David Ogden Stiers voiced Cogsworth, the butler turned mantel clock, in Beauty and the Beast. Stiers would continue to voice the character in all Beauty and the Beast media in which Cogsworth appeared until 2006. The year before Beauty and the Beast's original theatrical release, Stiers portrayed Dr. Timison in the 4th season Next Generation episode Half a Life. Stiers passed away in Newport, Oregon, United States on March 3, 2018 at the age of 75. Born in Glendale, Arizona, United States on October 23, 1982, actor Bradley Pierce voiced Chip, the teacup son of Mrs. Potts in Beauty and the Beast. For Star Trek, Pierce portrayed Jason Janeway, an ancestor of Catherine Janeway, in the 5th season Voyager episode 1159. Previously profiled in our video, NeoBlisseyX vs. presents Gargoyles vs. Star Trek 30 years later, link in the description. Late actor Tony Jay voiced Monsieur d'Arc, administrator of the village's insane asylum in Beauty and the Beast. In Beauty and the Beast, Frank Welker voiced Sultan, the pet dog turned footstool. Originally released in U.S. theaters on November 11, 1992 as the 31st film in the Walt Disney Animation Studios canon, Aladdin told the story of a streetwise thief in the fictional Arabian kingdom of Agrabah who stumbles upon a magic lamp, but must ultimately rely on his own wits to save the kingdom from an evil sorcerer. Roger Allers helped co-write the story on which the screenplay of Aladdin was based. In Aladdin, Frank Welker voiced 3 characters. Abu, Aladdin's kleptomaniac pet monkey. The Avatar of the Cave of Wonders, hiding place of the magic lamp. And Raja, the pet tiger of Princess Jasmine. Archival audio of Welker as Abu would be used in the 2023 hybrid short film Once Upon a Studio, as mentioned in our Starfleet Cinema episode on the subject. Link in the description. Previously profiled in our Starfleet Cinema episodes on Once Upon a Studio and Chippendale Rescue Rangers, and the Day 29 episode of NeoBlisseyX vs. the MGM Studios 31-Day Movie Challenge on the 1997 animated film Anastasia, links in the description field below this video, voice actor Jim Cummings provided the voices of Razul, the captain of Agrabah's Royal Guard, and Farouk, a shopkeeper in Agrabah's marketplace. Originally released in U.S. theaters on June 24, 1994 as the 32nd film in the Walt Disney Animation Studios canon, The Lion King tells the story of a lion who, after his father, the king of the jungle, is killed by his treacherous uncle, must discover the truth and return from exile to take his rightful place in the circle of life. Roger Allers made his directorial debut with The Lion King, sharing duties with Rob Minkoff, who had previously directed the Roger Rabbit spin-off short films Tummy Trouble and Roller Coaster Rabbit. Born Karen Elaine Johnson in New York City, New York, United States on November 13, 1955, Academy Award-winning actress Whoopi Goldberg provided the voice of Shenzi, one of the 3 hyena henchmen of the villainous lion Scar. Goldberg would reprise the role of Shenzi in the 2004 direct-to-video animated film The Lion King 1.5, which depicts the events of the original film from Timon and Pumbaa's point of view. For Star Trek, Goldberg portrayed Guinan as a special guest star in episodes of The Next Generation from Season 2 onward, on an uncredited basis in the motion pictures Star Trek Generations and Star Trek Nemesis, and in Season 2 of Star Trek Picard. Goldberg's Oscar win came as Best Supporting Actress in 1991 for her role of psychic Oda Mae Brown in the 1990 romantic drama Ghost. For The Lion King, Jim Cummings provided the vocalizations for Ed, one of the 3 hyena henchmen of Scar. Like Shenzi actress Whoopi Goldberg, Cummings would reprise the role of Ed in 2004's The Lion King 1.5. In addition, Cummings provided the final vocals for Scar himself on the song Be Prepared, when original Scar voice actor and Be Prepared vocalist Jeremy Irons threw out his voice when singing the line, "You won't get a sniff without me!" Born Madge Dorita Walters in what is now Kingston, Jamaica on April 28, 1938, late actress Madge Sinclair portrayed the voice of Sarabi, mother of Simba. For Star Trek, Sinclair portrayed two characters. The canonically unnamed captain of the USS Saratoga in the motion picture Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. While uncredited for the role, Sinclair's character, given the name Margaret Alexander in late author Vonda N. McIntyre's novelization of the film, is credited as the first female starship captain seen on screen in any Star Trek production, and Captain Silva LaForge in the 7th season Next Generation episode Interface, which turned out to be one of her final acting appearances, as Sinclair passed away of leukemia in Los Angeles, California, United States on December 20th, 1995 at the age of 57. We at SWR Entertainment, Shadow Riders STO Fleet PS4, and the Void Armada wish to offer our sincerest condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of Roger Allers. Rest in peace, Roger, and thanks for the memories.